November 2011. The air was below freezing. The sky hung heavy and gray, filled with a suffocating tension. The cold had seeped deep into the stone walls of the old hospital building in western Pennsylvania. From the outside, St. Albans County Hospital looked abandoned, but a few sections were still operational. The emergency room, the ICU, and the morgue located in the basement. The upper floors had been unused for years, many of their doors left unlocked. Lavra Mendel was a 28-year-old night shift nurse. She had been working at this hospital for just 8 months, but due to her irregular sleep schedule, night shifts suited her better. Besides, the hospital was quieter at night, more ... bearable. That night wasn't different from the others. At least it didn't seem so at first. At 11:16 p.m., the security cameras showed the entrance to the emergency room. Laura sat at the nurse's station, reviewing records on the system while holding an old coffee cup in her hand. Suddenly, a man in his 60s entered. He wore a gray coat, and beneath his hat, his eyes were tired and bruised. Without saying a word, he walked straight toward the nurse's station. "What's your name?" Laura asked, her tone automatic. The man answered in a hoarse voice, almost whispering, "Victor." Victor Haddon. Laura looked up. For a brief moment, his eyes glimmered strangely under the dim light. But what disturbed her more was what she found when she searched his name in the system. Victor Haddon. Date of death, November 23, 1987. Laura froze. Her gaze flickered between the monitor and the man. She assumed the system had an error. Such things had happened before. It must be a mistake, she told herself, trying to stay calm. But the man said nothing. He turned and walked down the hospital corridor. Laura called after him, "Wait, I haven't registered you yet," but he didn't respond. That was when it began. Laura looked back at the security cameras. The man had been visible moments ago in the triage room, but now he was nowhere to be seen on any camera. Maybe he went to the restroom, she thought, but a chill ran through her. She reopened the records. Victor Haddon had died in 1987 during surgery. There had been a power outage during the operation, an anesthesia malfunction. The patient's heart had continued beating, but the machines had stopped, and the surgical team hadn't realized it in time. It wasn't officially classified as murder, but it was recorded as a wrongful death. Laura followed the direction where the man had walked. The halls were silent, the tired walls and flickering ceiling lights adding to the eerie atmosphere. Her footsteps echoed, but there was no one in sight. Suddenly, the lights went out. The entire hospital plunged into darkness. The backup generator failed. Laura pulled out her flashlight and pressed forward. She arrived at an old ICU room. The door was open. This floor wasn't supposed to be in use. But from inside came the beeping of a heart monitor. Beep, beep, beep. She stepped inside. In the center of the room lay Victor. His eyes were open. But this time, Laura noticed something different. Victor's chest was not rising or falling. The machine was running, but he wasn't breathing. The heart monitor measured emptiness like a ghost. Laura stumbled backward. As she tried to leave, the door slammed shut. Suddenly, the monitor started screaming alarms. A woman's voice echoed, "Please ... don't forget me ... Laura pounded on the door. Then the voices shifted, overlapping in 3 layers. "I was there ... The lights went out. They didn't see me, ... We are still here. Victor was gone. The bed was empty. But the heart monitor kept beating. When the files speak. Once Laura escaped the room, all systems were back online. She rushed back to the security desk and started digging through old patient files. She found several records of patients who had died years ago, but whose files had never been deleted. All had passed away at night. Notes mentioned power outages. Strangest of all, between 1987 and 1993, 9 patients had died between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. All incidents involved power failures. None had undergone autopsies. At that moment, Laura noticed an email pop up on the screen. The system had refreshed automatically, but the message's date was November 23, 1987. The email read, "When the lights went out, they couldn't see us, but we always saw them. They don't need to wake up. We're already here." As the night dragged on, the hospital grew colder. The heating system failed. One by one, the other nurses vanished. Laura tried to find them, wandering through different floors, but with each step, she felt as if she was waking up in another time. One floor still smelled like cigarette smoke and had 1980s medical equipment. On another, the walls bore warnings. Don't come back. Finally, she reached the top floor. There, a board displayed the names of all the forgotten patients. Written in red ink at the center were the words, "Those who were forgotten stay here." As Laura approached, she saw her own name. Laura Mendel, November 23, 2023. The date was today's. At that moment, she realized, tonight, ... It was her turn. When the morning shift arrived, the hospital looked normal. The security guard at the desk noticed Laura's chair was empty. Everything else was in place, but on the security footage at 3:14 a.m., a figure walked down the corridor. The image was blurry, but the person wore a white nurse's uniform. And one more thing. An old man in a gray coat walked beside her. They silently disappeared into the shadows. Laura was never found. Her file remains marked missing, just like the 9 before her. In Detroit, Michigan, stood the old Mercy Hospital, built in the early 1900s. While new hospitals rapidly rose around the city, this one had long been nearly abandoned. Only the emergency room and the morgue in the basement were operational at night. The upper floors were covered in dust, windows shattered, and the hospital halls whispered the ghosts of the past. That night, 33-year-old night nurse Mellis Carter had just started her shift. The cold air and the abandoned corners of the old hospital felt more terrifying than usual. It was just past midnight. Mellis was walking through the emergency rooms, checking patient records. Suddenly, the old morgue door at the end of the hall creaked open slightly. Mellis decided to investigate since no one was on duty in the morgue. As she approached, she heard faint rustling and whispering from inside. She slowly pushed the door and stepped in. The morgue was freezing cold, the air nearly still. Next to a coffin, an old doctor's long white coat lay on the floor beside a note. "Understand us. When the lights go out, you cannot see those who walk among us, but we see you." When Mellis turned around, several shadows darted quickly down the long corridor. Her breath caught in fear. At that moment, the morgue lights went out and the emergency room generator alarm blared. Mellis switched on her flashlight and ran toward the door. As she reached for the door, she felt a cold breath on her neck in the darkness. Looking back, she saw a blurry but familiar face, a patient who had died in this hospital during the 1940s. Malice vanished that night. Security cameras only recorded the empty morgue and flickering lights. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I share new creepy and true stories every day. Have you ever experienced a paranormal event or something strange? Share your story in the comments. I might feature it in the next video. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.